If anyone was wondering if Akira Toriyama would have any last final shots to take at Vegeta before he passed, look no further in this episode. Vegeta caught all the smoke, and we got some more backstory pertaining to the demon world. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, right here back with Garrett to cover all things Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, anime, gaming, Star Wars, and more. This time, Dragon Ball Daima, episode 11, titled Legend. And it was a legend in the fact that Vegeta finally got to show us what he was made of, but more of that down the line. We start off this episode by being introduced further to Neva, the old Namekian who was originally with King Goma back, way back when this series officially began. And Neva seems to be more on top of things than everybody actually believes he is. Vegeta obviously fell for the old senile guy trick when Neva introduced himself. Piccolo, of course, did not. Piccolo, being the astute person and Goku's everyday babysitter, happened to figure out, hey, Neva's not only intelligent, he's intelligent enough to fake dumb on not only the king, but on everyone else around you. I can't believe you guys are falling for it. And 100%, Piccolo was on the money. Nev was like, I knew Goma was going to turn you into kids. I knew you guys were going to show up here. I knew you were going to go after the Tamagami. I kind of just waited here for you guys just to see how things would play out, which is absolutely insane that someone was able to plan this far ahead to be able to be meticulously in the correct spot at exactly the right moment you needed to be to make sure things would go catastrophically correct for you. Considering the fact that a Kraken attack and the Gendarmerie were also happening within this Demon World number 2. So that part is pretty wild. However, I think someone should go muzzle Goku. Goku is giving Neva all of the information about everybody right here, right now. We don't officially know Neva. We don't know what he's about. We don't know what's in this for him. We don't know exactly what he's about, but we got some great insight pertaining to it. Neva gives us some information that, hey, Namekians, they're supposed to use their powers for good. And as the group astutely did, they all glared at Piccolo. Because Piccolo, if we remember our correct introduction to him in Dragon Ball, he was a stone cold fighter. He literally wanted to enslave the entirety of the human race for his own pleasure because, hey, he could. And ultimately, he was luckily thwarted by Goku, and then they became the most uneasy of friendships. And the next thing you know, went from a rivalry into, hey, can you take care of my kid? I'm too busy dying all the time. Weird how things work out, but ultimately, Piccolo caught some side stray for it. But again, if anyone has rectified their time and their mistakes, I think Piccolo more than has made up for it in any and all uncertain terms. Piccolo is one of those individuals who is, in my mind, morally one of the best characters we have throughout this series. And as Neva continues to disclose, he's basically waiting around at this place because he believes that someday the Namekians will return. His goal, in my mind, at least from what I'm perceiving, is that he's hoping that all the Namekians will come back to Demon World number 2, and it can kind of be, less lonely. He just hangs out on an island by himself all the time. I love being alone. Don't get me wrong. But eventually you're going to want some kind of social companionship. So Neva, hats off to you for being around here for the who knows how many years, just kind of hanging out on your own. Then we kind of pan off and we go back to Marba and Aransu and Majin Ku, who are now creating Majin Du. And Majin Du turns out to be kind of a doofus. He is a big problem. He has no intellect. He has nothing going on upstairs. He is what you would call a Goku. He only knows how to fight and eat. The first thing he asks for upon being born is chocolate. If you remember Dragon Ball Z, when Majin Buu was actually created, he had a beam on his head to where he would turn people into chocolate and then eat them and then absorb part of their power, part of their essence. It wasn't perfectly transcribed, but he was out here eating people. So we should probably keep a pretty close eye on Majin Ku, who actually is a much better fighter than, Majin Du is a much better fighter than Majin Ku. Majin Du is having a good time fighting off Tamagami number 1, and we finally got to see kind of him figure out what's going on. He has nothing going on intellectually, so he's shooting ki blasts at his own face. Why? How? We're not sure. The fact that he seemed to have figured out that he was able to do ki blasts after staring at Tamagami number 1 and have him do that is absolutely crazy. The only thing he seems competent at doing is basically trying to wrap himself around his opponent and throw what weight he does have around. So ultimately, it's going to be interesting to see how that fight turns to pan out. Because if he takes out Tamagami number 1, which right now he's actually on track to, he looks further ahead than Tamagami number 1 would like to state, and I think it's going to be a problem for a lot of people. So he may be Majin Doofus, but he could be Majin Doofus number 1 in terms of threats to everybody moving forward. As well, we have Vegeta finally getting to fight, which, I'm a huge Vegeta fan. It's about dang time we see our boy in action. But again, Akira Toriyama is just throwing strays left, right, and center at Vegeta. As Vegeta is basically ready to go and is fighting the Tamagami number 2, he gets insulted immediately off the gate. Tamagami number 2 is not like Tamagami number 3. 3 was honorable, 3 was respectful. He didn't call out Goku, he didn't insult him by name. He didn't even call him a child. He was just like, all right, if you want to fight, let's go. Tamagami number 2, on the other hand, calls Vegeta a giant child, and then ultimately calls him someone who is incapable of getting the job done. Wow. And then on top of that, he tells him to go run home and suckle his mother because that's all he's good for. Yeah, that's a heck of a lot of strays right now, considering Vegeta's got a planet full of nobodies because the planet doesn't exist anymore. Remember Frieza blew it up? What's he going to do? Who's he going to go see? Everyone's gone. So that's a burn in of itself. And then Vegeta, as he's fighting Tamagami number 2, is actually laying some pretty good shots in. But Tamagami number 2, while wielding this trident, seems to be a far more adept fighter than Tamagami number 3 was. Tamagami number 3 never even drew blood on Goku. And sure, he was using a blunt object, but he never drew blood on Goku. Tamagami number 2 is using a trident, and he's out here looking like Aquaman the way he's wielding that thing, so with such precision and such precise actions. He was getting straight cuts, and he was drawing blood on Vegeta's face in no uncertain terms. So Vegeta eventually gets slapped away, and he goes into the water. And guess who's waiting for him in the water? The Kraken. Yeah, Vegeta's not only fighting in a handicap match, he got insulted, and he basically got reminded of his, no longer with us family. Akira, I'm sure you're smiling up down on us from heaven, and you are just giggling to yourself that you're able to get some last shots in on Vegeta. And hey, bless you for it. You created him, but you kept him around because we love that character. So Vegeta, ultimately now being smacked around, gets eaten by this Kraken, and that's where we left off basically this episode. Vegeta's handicap match is not going swimmingly, but again, if anyone thinks that the Prince of all Saiyans, the king of being too proud to where it's a problem, and the king of being too arrogant, is going to happen to go down to a giant underwater fish squid thing, yeah, we all know that's not coming. And next week, we'll get some more conclusive results pertaining to his fight and the fight between Majin Buu and Tamagami number 1. So far, satisfying series. Really good episode. Probably one of the better ones they've had so far. I'm Brett for Geek Variants. Be sure to hit the lovely red subscribe button. Greatly helps us out as we are so close to being potentially monetized. Thanks to you, the viewers. Thank you all for checking out all of our amazing videos. I'm Brett for Geek Variants. I'll see you in the next one.